Rights to freedom is dead. We're coming to get our check.
Black first, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Afro Elite YouTube channel. I am your host, Afro Elite. Before we get started, please make sure that you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that share button. All of that helps to reach in the growth of the channel, and we're on our way to 10K. For everything that you guys do, thank you very much. Now, this subject was recommended to me, and I saw a lot of people give their, commentary on it, give their take on it. So this was something that I kind of wanted to share an opinion about, because I think that this can be used as a learning lesson, because a lot of people out here are doing a lot of stuff online based off of what they see online, and essentially they're acting delusional. And especially as grown adults who's ready to get into like a serious commitment relationship, you should not be acting delusional. So I definitely want to give my opinion on this. Before we do that though, this is like a swirling thing. The guy is not black, don't know what he is. He might be Hispanic, he might be a Middle Easterner, I don't know what he is. I just know he's not black. That's the only thing I know. He ain't black. That's all I know. And that's not something we promote here, but we're still going to be able to use this as a learning lesson. So for the sake of the argument, we're just going to use the example as a learning lesson. So you can pretend that he's black or whatever the case is for this argument. You know what I'm saying? It's not like we're promoting that, but this is just for the example and the interaction. All right. So without any further ado, let's get started.
Let me just get the door for you.
Okay. He got me at the Cheesecake Factory, y'all. I ain't getting out this car. Yes.
Would you want me to open the door for you? You're recording me?
Yeah.
When people say things like chivalry is dead, it's because of situations like this. Rarely do you see a man getting out of his car to go around the car and open up the door for his date. I'm not talking about open up the car door so she can get in the car, which is something you don't tend to see nowadays. But I'm talking about he gets out the car and walks around so he can open up her door. Now, this is not his girlfriend. This is not his wife. This is only their first date. And she allows him to do that just so she can refuse to get out the car on camera to kind of be extra. Just by this first thing. Now, she saw that they were pulling up at this Cheesecake Factory, and her whole thing is, oh, I'm not getting out the car. I'm recording, and I want to see his face when I don't get out the car. She didn't say anything when they parked or anything. She was cool and calm, and it was all like, oh, I can't wait for him to open up the door and watch me refuse to get out the car.
Yeah. This is the Cheesecake Factory. This is the Cheesecake Factory, y'all.
What's the problem with that?
This is a chain restaurant. Who takes someone that looks like this to a chain restaurant?
Okay, I just had to look it up just so I can be 100% clear. A chain restaurant is a restaurant that has 4 or more locations, and they're all owned by the same company. Chain restaurant, the way she's saying it makes it seem like it's cheap or raggedy, low quality, something like that type of restaurant. Chain restaurant literally means what I just said. So there are some high quality, fine dining restaurants that are chain restaurants. So let's just be clear about that. If she wanted to go to the most expensive, extravagant restaurant, some of the most expensive restaurants are not chain restaurants. Some of the most like high quality 5-star, celebrity chef restaurants, no, they're not going to be chain restaurants. But that's something that you normally would not take a woman to for the very first date. That's number one. Number two, when you look at her and she says, I don't, somebody who looks like me. Okay. Now, I don't want to get in trouble when it comes to bullying on YouTube, so I'm not going to bully her. but I'm just going to state, based off of some of the comments that I've seen of other people who've addressed this video, who've made commentary off this video, she is not a 10, 9, or 8 in anybody's book. And I feel like a 7 is a reach, to be very honest. A 7 is a reach. She doesn't look that expensive. And this is the problem. She's dressed up, to be honest. She's not too dressed up for the Cheesecake Factory. I mean, not really. Now, you can't really tell what she's wearing now, but like the makeup don't look that expensive, and she don't look that expensive. Her body don't look that expensive. You know, her physique don't look that expensive. So, and definitely her attitude is cheap as hell.
You want to talk about it? I'm fine with talking about it, even in front of them.
Oh, yeah, I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Come on, get up on in the car. Yeah, we're going to talk about it. Oh, okay.
Okay. So,
yes, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
So you expect a man to go all out on the first date. Is that right?
I mean, you're supposed to. When you take out a beautiful woman and you're courting her, because I get courted. So you're courting her, right? You're supposed to take care of her. You're supposed to cover her. You're supposed to protect her, cherish her, treat her well, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do.
I agree. I went into this date as...
Okay, courting a woman has nothing to do with where you take her to go eat. That has nothing to do with that. He's feeding you. He's essentially paying for everything. He doesn't have to spend $1,000 for a dinner date to court you. That's not what courting means, all right? And this is the problem when women like her say things like, I want to be courted, I want a man to take me serious and everything like that. It's not that you want a man to take you serious. It's the fact that you pretty much want to be put on some pedestal like you're Beyonce or something like that. You're not on that level. You're not on that level to any degree. So why would he be spending this much money on the very first date? You're sitting up there refusing to get out of the car, even if you didn't like this restaurant. This is absolutely childish and extra to go about it by recording and all this. If you did not like this restaurant and you say, if you just hated this restaurant, let's just give her that. Let's say she had a terrible experience at the Cheesecake Factory. She doesn't like the food. She doesn't like the environment. She doesn't have a problem with the restaurant in general. She just hates this particular restaurant. This is not how you go about saying that. If he pulled up at this restaurant and you'd be like, hey, you know, I'm sorry, I hate to be rude, but I just have a bad experience. I just really don't like the Cheesecake restaurant. Can we please, if you don't mind, can we find someplace else to go? I'm pretty sure he would have went someplace else. He would have found someplace else to go. This is not how you go about it and then try to use the excuse, oh, well, I need to be courted. This is not how you go about that.
I expect, with the expectations for myself, to keep you safe, you know, to respect you, to pay for your food, of course, pick you up, of course, and just treat you like a gentleman, which I believe I have done.
I mean, you've been pretty nice, but I mean,
and then
Cheesecake Factory.
I, on the other hand, have certain expectations for a girl I go out with on the first date. I expect her to be respectful too. I expect her to be cooperative, and at least, you know.
What did I do that wasn't cooperative?
What did I do that wasn't cooperative? You refused to get out of the car. Not only that, when he stopped the car, you plotted, turned on your camera, started recording, and was like, or going live or whatever the case is, because I know TikTok videos don't go this long, so you were probably live. And you refused to get out the car and decided to put him essentially on blast for taking you to the Cheesecake Factory. What are you talking about? What did I do that wasn't cooperative?
Well, I mean, like, even like when we were walking to the car, you wouldn't put your hand around my arm or anything like that, or hold my hand or anything like that.
I mean, it's too early for that.
Okay.
I don't know you.
I can
yet.
respect that. I can respect that.
I know the touch barrier kind of varies depending on certain people. I don't necessarily, I mean, holding hands or I guess wrapping your hands around each other, that's not like no big thing. It's not like he said, you didn't kiss me when I saw you or anything. You can kind of like hold his hand walking to the car. It's not like that's a big thing. But even if we respect the fact, and like the guy is, if we respect the fact that that's too soon for her, if literally holding his hand or wrapping your arm around his arm, if that's too soon, why on earth do you think him taking you to a 5-star restaurant is not too soon? It's literally too soon for you to hold his hand. You don't feel comfortable even holding his hand or wrapping your arm around his arm, but you feel completely comfortable with him taking you to the nicest, fanciest honeymoon type restaurant. Why would you think that that's okay with him? Like he doesn't have any boundaries.
When I got to your apartment to pick you up, you didn't want to invite me in. I can respect that too. We're not
Again, I don't
we're not
know
there
yet.
Okay. And then, but
I mean, I feel like I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do as a woman.
But
I got myself
there's
all made
nothing
up.
wrong with the Cheesecake Factory, right?
Yes, there's a lot wrong with the Cheesecake Factory.
Okay. Well, look at my planner where we were gonna go originally.
See, now that's where we should have went. All right there. Call him.
No.
What do you mean no?
See, I
know you
specifically
didn't.
told you both yesterday and this morning that I'd come to pick you up at 4 p.m., right? And I got to your place at 4 p.m. You didn't even come downstairs for another hour, and so I was waiting downstairs
I understand.
for an hour, right?
But I wasn't expecting for work to take me so long. I got home a little late. And like I said, I don't know you well enough to invite you up into my apartment.
And
that is not possible.
And
here's the thing with this. If a woman doesn't know a man well, she shouldn't be inviting him into her home, especially by himself, and they're just only, if she doesn't feel comfortable, that's completely understandable. The thing is that he probably only said anything about coming up because he was sitting outside for literally an hour while you were getting ready. And she used the excuse, work took a while, whatever the case is. It took me a minute to get ready. Ma'am, you are a grown woman. When you're running late, especially to the first date, you can communicate that. Okay, first off, an hour late is completely unreasonable. Most people would have canceled. You're an hour late, all right? Now, the thing is that if you're running late, you know you're not going to be there on time. It's not like it was you're on the way and you're a couple minutes behind because there was traffic or an accident or something like that. You're an hour late. That means at 3:30, you knew for a fact you are not going to be ready at 4 o'clock. You should have let him know, hey, can we push it back or whatever the case is, because I'm not going to be ready at 4 o'clock. Don't have him pull up at 4 o'clock expecting you to walk out the door and you're sitting in the house until 5 o'clock. Don't do that. That's not how adults at all should be moving whatsoever. And he had to bring it up, which shows she wasn't very apologetic about that.
that's why I'm thinking, okay, if we're not there in the relationship to, meet at your apartment, then maybe we're not ready in a relationship for such a nice, fancy restaurant as Aria, especially if I'm paying for the whole thing, which I'm still willing to do. I would have been, but if we're late, I told you twice.
Late. It wasn't that late.
We literally left your place at the time the reservation was supposed to be. And I specifically said 4 because maybe we could get there early and even have some time to get to know each other on the way there and while we're in the parking lot.
I mean,
I'm waiting for a reservation.
we can still get to know each other. Isn't there another restaurant you can call that, like, the
No.
equivalent to that? I mean,
I literally
you
just
don't
said-
understand. Look at me. I cannot go in the Cheesecake Factory.
Now, what we don't know is exactly the restaurant they were going to. But based off of both their reactions, the fact that he kind of essentially flexed on her and she agreed that she liked that restaurant, we can just assume that that was a higher quality restaurant. That was like a 4 or 5 star restaurant. So, number one, you can't just pick an equivalent. And I'm going to break it down to levels. Number one, the first thing is that those types of restaurants, if this was like a 5 star restaurant, you need reservations to go to those restaurants. You can't just walk in and be all like, hey, table for 2, and then be like, here, sir, right away. Those restaurants are booked sometimes a month in advance when it comes to certain occasions or certain dates or whatever the case is, assuming especially that this was on a weekend. Those restaurants are going to be booked. They're going to be sitting there for about an hour, if that, just to get a table for 2. Number 2, she came late. She ruined that. That was her decision to come late. Whether it was work or whether she had a legitimate excuse or not, she was the one who was late, not him. Okay, so it was because of her that that was ruined. She does not, especially given her attitude, she does not deserve the equivalent of what the original plan was going to be. The fact that she left the house an hour late, she should be grateful for what he's doing right now. Like I'm saying, this is the Cheesecake Factory. She's making it seem like this man pulled up to Burger King and was like, okay, let's get a Whopper Jr. and some fries. Okay, this is the Cheesecake Factory. It's not like the end of the world. And then another thing, she keeps talking about someone who looks like me, someone who looks like me. Ma'am, you don't really look that good, to be honest. You don't look that good. And I'm not sitting up there bullying, so I'm not going to say she's ugly or whatever the case is, but she is in nobody's book a 10 out of 10 or a 9 or an 8. And a lot of people, I wouldn't say would even consider her a 7, given especially the attitude. So I don't know why she's acting like she needs to be treated like Beyonce.
There's nothing wrong with
I will die. That's
Okay.
embarrassing.
Listen, as I said, I have very specific.
You'd swear by her reaction, he pulled up to a White Castle and said, let's go get some White Castle burgers. You swear by her reaction, that's where he took her. Man, it's the Cheesecake Factory. And like I said, even if she hated that restaurant, this is not how you go about it. She's literally acting like she's too good to go to that restaurant, which is a I don't know why he's sitting up there negotiating. This is a red flag. By her just acting like she's too good for the Cheesecake Factory, you can only imagine what hell she would have put him through just dating and ordering food and doing all of this and this. She's acting like she's doing him a favor by just going outside with him or something like that. She's literally acting that way.
Certain expectations for that.
No.
I can tell it's not gonna be there. And maybe we're not right for each other. So respectfully, I'm gonna just drop you off at home.
Oh, no, he didn't.
Yeah, I'm up.
So you just want to call it a night? I mean,
Yeah.
isn't there some kind of compromise or something? Ladies, can you believe this?
Ma'am, no. There's no compromise at all. To be totally honest, you better be glad he didn't kick you out the car and say, why don't you get an Uber home? That's, to be very honest with you. The thing is that you have to understand, and this is the part of her not taking accountability. You have to understand you are the one who kind of set the date wrong when you were a whole hour late. I'm not talking about you were 10, 15, 20, even 30 minutes late. You were a whole hour late to leave the house, not even to get to the restaurant, to literally leave the house. He was gracious enough to find another spot for you guys to go to. and you didn't even try to compromise with him, saying, hey, I know we couldn't go to the place I wanted to go to, but I really don't like this place, or whatever the case is. When she was talking to him, she was like, well, look at me. What you're supposed to do to a woman of my stature, to a woman of my beauty, you're supposed to wine and dine a woman like me, a woman of status like me. She was not talking on any type of compromising. She was not on that page at all the whole time. Now, the second he's saying, okay, well, I'll just drop you off then. Now you're talking about, well, hold on, let's compromise. Now there's a 50-50 we can go here. No, you messed that up.
I'm sorry, y'all.
Out the parking space.
If I don't feel respected, I am not gonna go through with the rest of the day.
Well, I mean, you are serious. You're really leaving.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't want this place anyway, right?
I mean, I understand that I was late. I understand that. I understand that I could have been a bit more cooperative. You made some good points. That's why I'm willing to compromise. Are you sure you want to go home?
I don't have a lot of rules. I don't have a lot of expectations for a first date, but I've already set them, and you've broken every one.
Oh
so,
my God.
I'm sorry. We're dropping you off home.
All right, whatever. Well, I mean, I guess I understand. You gotta do what you gotta do. I understand where you're coming from.
Just look at her facial expressions. She really doesn't have anything to say. There's nothing she can say right now. She's essentially done. It's over. What she thought was going to happen is not happening. And she's making this facial expression because she's the one who decided to turn on her phone and go live and talk to her friends. And now she's getting taken home. She doesn't have a date that night. And he's not going to hit her up for anything else. Now, the thing is that she embarrassed herself. She embarrassed herself by trying to one him up or what. I don't know what she was doing. If she was trying to like flex to her friends or whatever the case is, she embarrassed herself. Now, I can understand you have a standard of where you want to eat. And in my personal opinion, based off of, how a man acts, especially on a first date or whatever the case is, of course you want to take a woman to a nice place, a place she enjoys. You're going to want your date to enjoy the date. You want to enjoy the date too. So the place you guys go to, if you surprise her, you should do that after knowing like some of the things she likes. Like for instance, don't surprise her with a seafood restaurant unless you know she likes seafood. She might be allergic to seafood. So you want to ask before, hey, what do you like to eat? And then off of what she likes to eat, then you can take her to a nice place. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of want to take her to a place she enjoys and make sure she has a good time. I don't necessarily advise being like super, super cheap. Like, hey, you better get something on the lunch menu or, let her enjoy herself or whatever the case is. That being said, though, it can be a red flag, in my personal opinion, if the woman is not considerate at all of the man she's going on a date with. Like, if she expects him to break the bank on the very first date, keep in mind, this is not a birthday. This is not an anniversary. This is not Valentine's Day. This isn't Christmas, Thanksgiving. This isn't nothing. This is their first date. They don't even know each other well enough to hold each other's hands. And she wants him to essentially break the bank because, in her opinion, she looks that good. She just looks that good for him to break the bank. You don't want a woman that's that inconsiderate, all right? You want a woman that's more considerate of who's taking her out. You know what I'm saying? Not that she has to be cheap, not that she can't get what she wants or go to a place she likes, but you want her to be considerate. Number one, the most considerate thing is be considerate of your time. You're the one who's taking her out. You're the one who's paying. She should not show up anywhere or be ready an hour late at all. If she shows up a little late, she would know she's not going to be there at the time you guys arrange. So she should let you know that ahead of time. At 3:30, and I'm saying 3:30, probably well before then, at 3:30, you knew for a fact you were not going to be ready to leave the house at 4 o'clock. That is incredibly inconsiderate for you not to let him know at 3:30, the second you knew, like, hey, I'm running late, I'm just getting off work, traffic, whatever the case is, whatever the situation is that kept you from being on time, you need to immediately let the person know. He's the one who's taking you out. You should have let him know. That's inconsiderate, okay? Then for you to know he's going to, I don't know if he told you in the car or whatever the case is, but you didn't really seem that apologetic for being late. That's one. Two, on his way to the place when he was pulling up, you could have been like, hey, I'm sorry. I hate to be rude. I have a very bad experience with it. I just really don't like it. Can we go anywhere else? I apologize for this. I'm probably guessing he most likely would have taken her someplace else. Don't try to flex on him, essentially, by waiting for him to park. He gets out to open your car door and you roll his window down and say, oh, this is the Cheesecake Factory, I'm not getting out the car. That's not something that you do. That's very rude and inconsiderate, okay? And it shows that you probably were not really that interested. You just wanted to essentially go out to take pictures for your Instagram and to show to your friends, to flex on with your friends. So these things are red flags. He should not be sitting up there arguing with you about getting out of the car. If anything, you should be grateful that he didn't pull off on you. Waiting outside in his car for an hour while you're getting ready is unreasonable. And to be very honest, she did not look that good. I'm not bullying, but she did not look that good where she couldn't go to the Cheesecake Factory. He didn't pull up at Wendy's. This was the Cheesecake Factory. She didn't look that good. I'm just going to be very, very honest. She embarrassed herself. She started recording thinking that she was going to one-up him, belittle him, really emasculate him, and make him take her to someplace she liked. That's not something, especially for the first date. That's not something that you do. You go on a first date. Of course, you guys have maybe, even if he wants to surprise you, if he doesn't want to tell you exactly where you're going, for real, he wants to maybe surprise you, impress you, and y'all have like a small interaction about restaurants you guys like or whatever the case is. You guys go to a certain place that you guys both enjoy. All right. But the thing is that you guys are going there not just to enjoy the food. You guys are going there to get to know each other. You're going there to interact with each other and, get to know each other and see if you guys are going to be compatible for something further down the line. That's what you guys are going there to do. Especially if you're using the word courting, you're not just casually dating, you're courting. Okay. So that's what courting is. So it's not really about the quality of the restaurant as much of it's about the interaction and the experience with the other person, So why would you expect him to take you to some 5-star thing? You should be going there because you're interested in getting to know him and getting to spend time with him. That's the reason why you should be going. Her doing this on TikTok or whatever the case is, refusing to get out the car, shows she was just going there so she could take selfies in the bathroom and so she could take pictures of the expensive ass food she was about to get. That's the reason. All right. That's not what you do. If you are not interested enough to go to the Cheesecake Factory, you're really not interested enough in him, to be very, very honest. All right. Especially due to the fact that you're the one who messed up the reservations. You came an hour late. You should be grateful that he wasn't like, hey, I got other things I got to do. I got to go. That's inconsiderate. She should have been grateful that he did not pull off. And her friends, whoever she was talking to on live, they're bad too, because they're sitting up there probably gassing her up based off of the way she was talking to her phone, gassing her up. Girl, you tell him he shouldn't take you to no chain restaurant. He needs to take you here. You look so good. This is what happens when you have delusional friends gassing you up and raising your standard above what your standard really is. Her standard is here and her friends are taking her here. That's a problem. That's a problem. What she needed was somebody to text her, to reach out to her, to tell her like, hey, you need to be quiet and you need to just enjoy the evening. That's what you need to do. If you don't like it, if you don't like him, don't go on the second date. But you need to be quiet right now. You're looking real bad. Get off the phone. That's what she needed somebody to tell her. But she had a whole bunch of delusional girlfriends who were probably gassing her up, saying, oh, you look like a 10 out of 10. He needs to take you to this place, to this place, to this place. Okay. And he wound up taking her home. Now she got dressed up, looked as good as she, I guess, tried to look, for no reason. Her girlfriends are not going to take her anywhere. Her girlfriends aren't going to take her on a date to a 5-star restaurant. That's not what's going to happen. At most, they do like a whole big group. Girls don't sit up there and be all like, girl, I just want to take you to a 5-star restaurant. Girls do not do that for each other. All right. So now you're at home. Now you got to order DoorDash because he's not taking you anywhere. And you just ruined a potential relationship with somebody who probably would have taken you serious, been a gentleman, been all the things that you say you want in a man. You ruined that by trying to flex on him on TikTok. Family, I want to know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think about the restaurant. Was it too low? Was it high enough? What do you think about the Cheesecake Factory? What do you think about her standards? What do you think about just the entire interaction in general? Let me know that in the comment section below. Also, you should be following me on my various social media platforms, which is Afro Elite on Instagram and The Afro Elite on Twitter. Please, please, please do not forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that share button. All of these things help the reach and the growth of the channel. We're on our way to 10K, and that's because of you guys. Thank you so much. Now, with that being said, my brothers and my sisters, be one salute to every single last one of you all, and you all have a good one.